Have you ever opened your phone to check one message and looked up 40 minutes later? Have you ever walked into a room in a good mood, noticed one cold expression, and suddenly decided that everyone was judging you? Have you ever promised yourself that tomorrow would be different, then repeated exactly the same behavior? These moments can feel random, but they are not random in the way we usually imagine. They are shaped by attention, emotion, memory, learning, social influence, and the stories we tell ourselves. That is the territory of psychology. Psychology is not just personality quizzes, body language tricks, or dramatic explanations for why someone behaves badly. It is the systematic study of how people think, feel, learn, remember, relate, and act, and how those processes interact with the body and the environment. You do not need to become a psychologist to benefit from psychology. You only need to become curious about the patterns running your day. Because when you can see a pattern, you gain a little space around it. And in that space, you may find a choice. So let us begin with the foundation: what psychology actually is, and why it reaches into almost every part of ordinary life. Imagine a simple question: why did I do that? The answer is rarely one thing. Perhaps you were tired. Perhaps a notification appeared at the exact moment you felt bored. Perhaps a friend's comment reminded you of an older experience. Perhaps the people around you were doing the same thing. Perhaps the action solved a problem quickly, even though it created a larger problem later. Psychology studies these layers together. The mind gives meaning to events. The body changes the energy available for action. Behavior is what other people can observe. Relationships influence what feels safe, normal, or possible. The environment makes some actions easy and others inconvenient. So psychology is not the idea that everything happens inside your head. A person is always thinking and feeling inside a body, inside relationships, inside a culture, and inside a physical world. Here is the memorable line: you are not a puzzle with one hidden label. You are a living system shaped by many interacting patterns. Try this today. When you notice a behavior you want to change, do not ask only, "What is wrong with me?" Ask 5 calmer questions. What happened just before it? What was I feeling? What did I expect? What did the behavior give me immediately? What did it cost me later? Those questions turn shame into information, and information gives us something to work with. Before we leave this idea, take a short reflection pause. Think of one behavior you repeat, even though you do not fully understand it. Do not judge it yet. Simply notice what may be happening around it. From here, we can look at how the mind turns past experience into predictions about the present. Think about walking into a familiar kitchen. Before you consciously inspect every object, you already know where the light switches, where the cups are, and which floorboard makes a sound. The brain is constantly using previous experience to predict what is about to happen. This makes life faster. If you had to consciously analyze every sound, face, and movement, ordinary life would be exhausting. But prediction can also become interpretation. A short text message, "Can we talk later?" can become exciting news, a warning, or evidence that someone is angry. The words are the same. The meaning changes according to your expectations and current state. Attention then selects some details and ignores others. If you are worried about being rejected, you may notice a delayed reply more than a warm conversation. If you are learning a new skill, you suddenly see examples of it everywhere. The mind does not passively photograph reality. It constructs a working version of reality that helps you act. That working version is useful, but it is not always complete. The practical pause is simple. What am I observing? And what am I adding? You observe, my manager wrote a short message. You add, I am in trouble. Sometimes the addition is correct. Sometimes it is an old prediction arriving early. Before reacting, write down one alternative explanation that also fits the facts. This does not mean forcing yourself to believe the most positive story. It means refusing to treat the first story as the only possible one. If the mind creates an interpretation, the body often creates a feeling to match it. Understanding the connection can help us respond to emotions with more care. Emotions are among psychology's most powerful forces because they prepare the whole person for action. Fear narrows attention toward danger. Anger mobilizes energy around a perceived violation. Sadness may slow us down after loss. Joy draws us toward what feels rewarding or meaningful. An emotion is real even when the interpretation attached to it is incomplete. You can genuinely feel threatened without being in actual danger. You can genuinely feel rejected while the other person is simply distracted. You can genuinely feel hopeless during a hard week without the future being permanently hopeless. This is why just calm down rarely works. The body is already participating in the experience. Breathing changes, muscles tighten, the heart speeds up. The mind searches for evidence that matches the feeling. But a feeling is not a command. Anger can point toward a boundary without telling you the best words to use. Fear can point toward uncertainty without proving that you must avoid the situation. Sadness can ask for care without proving that you should isolate forever. Remember this, feelings are visitors with information. They are not always qualified to drive. When an emotion rises, name 3 things: the feeling, the body sensation, and the action urge. For example, I feel anxious. My chest is tight. I want to cancel. Naming the sequence creates a small gap between the urge and the action. If intense emotions or distress persist and interfere with daily life, reaching out to a qualified mental health professional is a sensible form of care, not a personal failure. Before we leave this idea, take a short reflection pause. The next time a strong feeling appears, see if you can name the feeling, the body sensation, and the action urge separately. Once we can notice an action urge, we can begin to understand how repeated responses become habits. Many people describe habits as a lack of willpower. Often, the more useful explanation is learning. A behavior becomes easier to repeat when a cue reliably leads to a routine and the routine produces some kind of reward. The cue might be a time, place, emotion, person, or object. The reward might be pleasure, relief, stimulation, certainty, or escape from discomfort. Consider checking your phone when work becomes difficult. The cue is discomfort. The routine is checking. The reward is a quick change in feeling. The phone habit is not only about entertainment, it is also an efficient way to leave an uncomfortable moment. This explains why good intentions often fail. The behavior is connected to the environment and to an immediate reward, while the desired outcome may be weeks away. The better question is not how can I become stronger? It is how can I redesign the next repetition? Put the distracting app farther away. Keep the book visible. Prepare the walking shoes. Make the useful action the easiest next step. Keep the reward, when possible, after 10 minutes of focused work. Take a short break or enjoy a cup of tea. A habit is a path worn into the day. Change the path, and the feet have a new direction. Choose one habit and identify its cue, routine, immediate reward, and one environmental change. Make the experiment small enough to repeat tomorrow. The important point is that change does not begin with a perfect personality. It begins with a better designed repetition. Habits are built from the past, and the past also shapes the memories we use to understand ourselves. We often treat memory like a video archive. We imagine that the past is stored exactly as it happened and can be replayed whenever we need it. In reality, remembering is more like rebuilding. We use fragments, emotions, meanings, later information, and our current understanding to reconstruct an event. That does not mean every memory is false. It means memory is designed for usefulness, not perfect documentation. You remember what mattered. You compress detail. You connect events into a story. This is why two people can experience the same conversation and later describe it differently. They may have noticed different cues, carried different expectations, and assigned different meanings. Memory also affects identity. If you repeatedly describe yourself as the person who always fails, your mind will search the past for supporting examples. Successes become exceptions. Setbacks become proof. Try replacing a global identity statement with a specific description. Instead of "I am bad at communication," say, "I avoided that conversation, and I can practice stating my concern earlier." The second sentence is less dramatic, but more useful. It describes behavior without turning behavior into destiny. The story you tell about the past becomes a lens for the next attempt. Review one difficult memory and separate facts from interpretation. What happened? What did you conclude about yourself? What would you conclude now if you were trying to be accurate and fair? Before we leave this idea, remember that an old story can feel familiar without being the only story available. Our memories help shape us, but so do the people and groups around us. Human beings are social learners. We look to other people for information about what is safe, normal, admired, or possible. This can help us learn quickly. A child watches how adults respond to a new situation. A new employee observes what the team rewards. A friend becomes more confident after seeing someone similar take the first step. But social influence can also pull us toward behavior we would not choose alone. If everyone in a group treats exhaustion as proof of commitment, rest can begin to feel like laziness. If everyone performs success online, ordinary uncertainty can feel like personal failure. Belonging is a powerful need. We may change our opinions, clothes, schedules, or ambitions to remain connected. Sometimes that is healthy adaptation. Sometimes it quietly moves us away from our values. Ask yourself, which behaviors in my environment are being rewarded? Which emotions are allowed? What does this group make easier? What does it make difficult to admit? The people around you do not write your whole identity, but they edit what feels possible. Choose one influence you want to strengthen and one you want to make less convenient. Spend more time with people who make honesty, learning, and care normal. Reduce exposure to environments that repeatedly turn comparison or cruelty into entertainment. Take a short reflection pause here. Think about the environments you enter every day. What do they quietly reward? What do they make difficult? And beneath all these influences, there is one voice you hear constantly, your self-talk. Everyone has an inner commentary. Sometimes it is encouraging. Sometimes it is a harsh narrator that treats every mistake as a verdict. Self-talk matters because it changes what an event means. This is difficult, invites persistence. I am incapable suggests that effort is pointless. I made a mistake leaves room for repair. I am a mistake closes the door. Compassionate self-talk is not pretending that everything is fine. It is accurate language that helps you respond. A good coach does not praise every performance, but neither do they insult the player into improvement. When you catch a harsh statement, ask 3 questions. Is it specific? Is it fair? Is it useful for the next action? If you missed a deadline, I always ruin everything is neither specific nor useful. I underestimated the research time. Next time I will create an earlier checkpoint is more honest and more actionable. The goal is not to speak to yourself as if you are perfect. It is to speak in a way that makes improvement possible. Try writing 1 recurring self-criticism and translating it into a specific instruction. Turn identity into behavior, and behavior into a next experiment. That shift may sound small, but language influences what the next attempt feels like. Now we can bring these ideas together and turn psychology into practical experiments for ordinary days. Psychology becomes valuable when it leaves the page and enters Tuesday afternoon. Start with the basics that influence almost everything else: sleep, movement, food, attention, connection, and recovery. These are not magic solutions, but they change the conditions under which thoughts and emotions appear. Then build a personal observation loop. Notice a pattern. Name the mechanism. Change 1 variable. Observe what happens. Adjust and repeat. For example, if you lose focus every day at 3 o'clock, do not immediately conclude that you are lazy. Observe your sleep, lunch, task difficulty, notifications, and expectations. Test 1 change: a short walk, a smaller task, a glass of water, or a protected 20-minute focus block. If an argument keeps repeating, do not only analyze the words. Look for the sequence, trigger, interpretation, body response, defensive action, other person's response, and repair or escalation. Change 1 link in the chain. Perhaps you pause before replying. Perhaps you ask 1 clarifying question before defending yourself. The experiment should be small, observable, and kind. You are not trying to control every thought. You are learning how your system responds. Self-knowledge is not a final answer about who you are. It is better data for the next choice. At the end of today, write down 1 moment when you acted automatically and 1 moment when you acted deliberately. That is enough to begin. Before we close, take 1 final reflection pause. Which pattern would be most useful to observe this week? Your attention, your emotions, a habit, a memory, social influence, or self-talk? Choose only 1. Understanding becomes powerful when it becomes specific. So what is psychology? It is the study of the patterns through which people think, feel, learn, remember, relate, and behave. It shows us that our actions are influenced by predictions, emotions, habits, memories, social environments, and self-talk. That does not mean you are controlled by these forces. It means change becomes more realistic when you understand them. You may not control every emotion, but you can learn to notice the action urge. You may not control every memory, but you can revise the story you use to define yourself. You may not control every social influence, but you can choose which environments receive more of your time. You may not remove every habit in 1 day, but you can redesign 1 cue and practice 1 different response. The point of psychology is not to turn life into a laboratory or yourself into a problem to solve. It is to make the invisible a little more visible. Because once you can see the pattern, you can ask a better question. Not what is wrong with me, but what is happening here? And what is one useful thing I can try next? That question is a small lantern. It may not illuminate the whole road, but it can show you the next step. If this episode helped you notice a pattern in your own life, write it down before the day ends. The cue, the feeling, the story, the action, and the result. Keep it simple. Curiosity is where change begins. This is Paper Guy. Keep learning, keep noticing, and take care of your mind as part of your life, not as something separate from it.